Good morning. Have you ever seen these unwelcome characters feature in your week? A fool, a sluggard or a lazy person, maybe a person who stirs the pot, and maybe someone who talks evil. And Proverbs chapter 26, which we'll be looking at today, describes these very common characters that feature in our world and in our weeks. And it describes and shows how close Scripture is to real life and how applicable it is, and that it's not far away. You just look at that list: a fool, a sluggard, a lazy person, a person who stirs the pot and talks evil. These people are so common around us, and it's refreshing to know that the Bible describes these people so well. Now, when we think about these types of people, I'm sure maybe there's someone that features in your head as you name the types of characters. But sometimes we also need that sort of self-reflection as well. Maybe we've been these characters. For this past week, I've been all four of those things. I've also been a fool who forgets God and trusts in himself. I've been a sluggard who enjoys scrolling and playing on his phone rather than taking care of what's important. I've also been a person who didn't speak up against someone who was stirring the pot in a situation, thus making me an accomplice of what was going on. And also talking evil about a colleague that was causing me grief at work. Now, how about you? I can think of many examples of others at work or amongst friends who fit these types of characters. But have you ever stopped and thought, hey, when have I been the fool? When have I been the lazy person? When have I been the pot stirrer or someone who talks evil about another person? Well, as we think of how applicable these proverbs are to us and unto others as well, we need to look at what's going on and what wisdom we can gain as we look at Proverbs 26. And so in the earlier verses of chapter 26, the chapter is actually concerned about how a fool and a sluggard act can be recognized, and also the consequences they suffer for their foolishness and sluggardness. Now in verses 7 to 28, which is our focus, those who stir the pot, who cause unnecessary harm and talk evil on others, is what we'll be looking at. So the first, in verse 17, we see this pot stirrer who gets involved in a quarrel that's not their own. Their stupidity is compared to that of someone who's actually just walking by and then decides to grab the ears of a dog. And depending on the dog, this situation may be that the dog bites back. And they could have just gone their way, but no, they decided to grab a dog by the ears. And it kind of points to just how stupid that can be. And then verses 18 to 19, the line, I am only joking. I was only joking. After deceiving someone, the fool pleads that they didn't mean harm or thought it wouldn't cause this much hurt. And this is still a common phrase today, as it was in ancient times, which makes you wonder, post-modern society that has such strong opinions, is a fantastic breeding ground for this type of talk as people put forward their own truth, because their own truth is, the truth for them. And while it cannot be considered another's truth, because and while another's truth is also a truth, the claim for postmodern society is that there is no absolute truth. And so even if you speak your opinion and you hurt others, hey, that's my truth. And you have to just kind of think, I'm only joking is said quite often. Whether it be, for me, the most applicable is, in the office, people are told, it's okay to voice your opinion, and then mediate after. But realistically, you can't just be saying certain things that hurt people with and feel like it's just going to disappear because you say, I'm only joking, I didn't mean it, when in fact the heart behind it was to actually attack someone. And so it goes to show that foolishness and the sinful nature of man, it hasn't really progressed since ancient times. The modern man or woman is in fact a picture of foolishness described in the verse 12, which says, do you see a man who is wise in his own eyes? There is more hope for a fool than for him. Those are harsh words. But if God's wisdom is true, it's true foolishness to be wise in one's own eyes. So to hold to one's personal truth and be wise in one's own eyes is actually the definition of pure foolishness, because there is no absolute truth to hold a standard or to hold certain ethics or morals. And so what the Bible is, I guess, presenting here in the face of an immoral society, or a society that doesn't hold to an absolute truth, means the one who trusts in God's wisdom rather than own ability or own truth or ability to save themselves or carve their career without acknowledging God won't be that far beyond the fool described in verse 12. And so what is God's wisdom here? If we look at the theme of Proverbs, it's the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Someone who honors God for what He's done in their life is the actual opposite of verse 12. And so we're encouraged to turn from deceiving others, lying through smiles while hating inside, because if we stay and trust in God's wisdom rather than our own personal truth, we'll do our best to be wise when we live our daily lives. Not just a nice and kind Christian pushover, which can happen when we swing the other way too much, but to be wise as serpents and as innocent as doves. Because even the Lord Himself knew that the hearts of men are evil, and know that a lying tongue or flattering mouth will actually bring hate and ruin, as it says in our passage. And because we know that these actions and heart motivations are foolish endeavors, even if, like the gossip or the talking of evil can be delicious to indulge in, as it says in verse 22, we're actually encouraged to cling to the wisdom of God and to live as if those who are living as people who are united to Him by faith. And that's the really hard part, because the whole world, if you think about it, is spouting lies, is deceiving, is playing office politics, is always looking for their best interests. And you have to stop and consider, what, as a Christian, how can you honor God and at the same time be serving others, loving others as He has loved us, but not be a fool in our own way, in just being so naive as well. And so we need to be thinking through what it looks like in your situation, in my situation, what to love others like Christ looks like, even if it costs you at times. To consider what it looks like, to consider what it is to be the opposite of the fool described here, to really watch what's going on in our hearts, and when things do go a certain way, to know that we have a God who readily is willing to run to us and forgive us and bring us to His family table. So my prayer and hope for me and for you today is that God, by His Spirit, would convict us when we fall into foolishness, and to seek His wisdom as we navigate a world that refuses, true wisdom and celebrates the foolishness of what they call progression, when it is in fact the same problem humanity has faced since Adam and Eve. No matter how deceptively we pack it up and present it and frame arguments, the fact that sin is at the core of humanity is the age-old problem. And we cannot be freed from sin or foolishness unless we cling to God's wisdom, and we need His Spirit to help us do that. And so may our hearts be pure and our conduct be Christ-like as we head into the days, weeks, years, and eternity ahead. Because it is tough following Christ, but He is with us, and that's our joy. And as we face so many challenges as we head out into the week, my prayer is that we will trust Him and honor Him in our lives, knowing that He will take care of us and He's with us. And that's our joy and our hope this morning.